So you lost your sister and two partners?
Two partners, yes.
So three.
And then a lot of
major-
other friends.
Well, that's what
Let's
I thought.
face it, yes.
Two
Lots of
aides.
other friends, yes.
Yeah.
And then, so the two of you were together for how long?
Long time. Maybe 30-ish years.
Wow. For you, just living through the AIDS crisis, shall we say, that was traumatic.
All of that was traumatic.
That
And the first day of school started, and typical Catholic school, everyone's sitting in straight rows, everyone is extremely well behaved. She said, shut the door. And there's not a single kid who moved. And then she said, louder, like, shut the door. And there's not a single kid who moved. And like, you heard it again, like, shut the door. And of course, you're fourth grade, so you're 10 years old. And all of a sudden, she just grabbed me by the back of my shirt and started just shaking me back and forth, snapping my head back and forth,
Oh my God.
and saying, "You're closest to the door. You're supposed to be the one to have shut the door."
He got sick.
Yeah, he died on a cruise. What a way to go,
There are worse places to go.
huh? Yeah, not when you're stuck.
Oh, not for you, yeah. For
Yeah.
him. Maybe okay for him, not so
Yeah.
much for you.
Yeah.
What the heck? What,
Yeah.
like a heart attack or something?
No, it was some, I don't know, whatever. He fell and shipped him off the ship and whatever. Yeah, that was terrible.
Oh my God.
That like I wasn't physically abused. I wasn't sexually abused. Like those big T traumas, even though my relationship with him was very traumatic in many ways, it wasn't in the obvious like ones that everybody would acknowledge.
You weren't going to school with big bruises on your face. For
No,
instance.
exactly. But I was going to school with other kids mocking me about my dad's alcoholism with his like publicly being at the bar all of the time.
And it happened in a very collective fashion where one person would get an idea, to turn on me, and they would like start a petition going around the neighborhood to kind of exclude me from things.
And I was going to school super, super poor because all of the money that he made went to his addiction. Like I grew up in extreme poverty.
And the amount of manipulation in that moment of there's no one that would know that you're the one that's supposed to do it because she didn't ask somebody. That she made up a rule to justify her anger.
And I was going to school, not knowing whether or not he was going to show up to things and what state he would be in when he did show up. And there was just no consistency.
In that moment, I knew, like, I'm screwed. That I'm it. And from that moment, there was no other kids that were going to be my friend. Like, you are out.
The definition of trauma, I feel, is a past experience and is a memory that is incongruent to one's happiness, health, and well-being. And I feel that it can embed itself, again, as we are multidimensional beings, not only in a physical sort of cellular memory level, but in the emotional aspect of ourselves and in the mind.
A person isn't quite ready to emotionally or consciously deal with the effects of what has happened, and their system kind of goes into a bit of a shock, and it oftentimes causes them to shut down and maybe reduce their sense of self in order to respond to that.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah. Still.
Yes.
And I probably told the story 100 times.
Isn't that amazing? Yes.
You know.
That the emotion can still be raw.
there's research out now that shows it's not just sort of what somebody goes through, but it's the absence of acknowledgement and sort of effective caring that happens afterwards, or that in this case doesn't happen afterwards, that sort of creates the traumatic response.
And whereas like if I cut my hand and yes, that hurt me, and I attend to it and it heals, and it might be a tiny scar, but it's not, I can go around about my day. There's nothing else that's going to bother that injury as long as I have it protected. Whereas trauma is other things that happen in my day, or the next week, or the next month, harm me again, or bring up harm from that event.
Because for a lot of people who have experienced trauma, there can be experiences of feeling like their body betrayed them, because they froze instead of fighting back, or they shut down and couldn't put voice to what they were experiencing, and so they stayed silent in the midst of it, which are biological processes in the moment that are optimizing the ability to get through an experience. Like the brain is saying, we have to be silent to get through this.
It's more of, I hope this doesn't happen again. And I would guess that my 7-year-old self thought, I hope this doesn't happen tomorrow, or I hope this doesn't happen again. Which means that you are now anxious, that you are now simply scared that something like that could happen again. Right.
Humans are a really unique sort of organism, so to speak, in that sort of, if you think about the ways that animals in sort of the world respond to something that's sort of life-threatening, frequently if they survive the initial encounter, they sort of shake it off and they continue to go about their day. But from our first moments in this world as humans, sort of we're dependent upon other people to sort of regulate and be regulated.
Transforms, like it changes you instantly.
I really wish that we could figure out a way to just drop it somehow or work through it so that then it was done. Like that there was a line, and there is an ending. Like there is an absolute ending. And there just isn't. Like things catch you off guard at the most unexpected times. And so there you are.
The triggering of things is probably the biggest hurdle for anyone who's been through some traumatic event.
No, but you have to be willing to accept what's happened.
Mm-hmm. And the answers are all out there. And so you need to start digging. You need to take responsibility.
But it's your problem, it's not theirs.
Yeah. So you strongly believe in taking responsibility, not dumping things on other people.
Of course.
Yeah.
We call that independence.
Yes.
I should lose some of it already, but when I get older.
I mean, my resiliency is a personal quest of wanting to be a decent person and to help other people. It's one where I've looked at myself and wanted to heal myself.
And so some of it is my just inherent choice and trust to believe that this is not forever. Like whatever this feeling is not forever.
Knowing it's going to pass.
Knowing that it's going to pass.
I probably spent 95% of my energy just trying to be safe in what I thought was an unsafe world. And now I'm at a place where it's like, I trust myself so deeply and I know that I'm going to be safe no matter what.
How would you like to revisit some awful moments and feel them and really feel them and get through it so that you can get to something else that's behind that?
And so I think so much of the process of healing from trauma is being able to feel what couldn't be felt at the time, so we shut down or moved away from it in some way. Acknowledging what couldn't be acknowledged, like I don't have the strength to get out of this situation, or this fear of I'm afraid I'm going to die, that sometimes can't be tolerated. And so as we can move towards a place of tolerating what couldn't be tolerated in the first place, we're able to then integrate it in a different way.
And I think for trauma survivors, I mean, that's a huge one to forgive, especially if your pain was inflicted upon you by another.
Yes.
To be able to forgive and to not place judgment on that person, place, or thing, or on yourself for the experience.
Yes.
To be able to get to
Yes.
that point is hugely liberating.
Life contains trauma and grief. And I think it's so important for every person to take responsibility, 100% responsibility for their own being, and to like recognize that inner child that wants healing and wants to be loved so deeply. Because when you get in touch with that, your life can just become miraculous, because you're no longer reacting to things. You can truly be responsible. You can respond to life.
Having the opportunity, I think I've personally experienced hearing somebody else with a similar story when I felt so alone is one of the most powerful things ever.
There comes a point when the heart is expanding and wanting to move through trauma where the mind can't necessarily keep up with it. And I think for myself, that leads me into generally a place of depression, where the self-concepts and the constructs that I've used to navigate my life no longer work. I've gone through it enough to know that on the other side is like a life that is something I could have never imagined.
And the ability to sort of feel that pain fully because it's held within the relational container now actually allowed their system to sort of allow the emotions to do what emotions do, which is to sort of move through and then sort of settle back down and be done. And so it sort of clears once we allow ourselves to feel it fully.
The process of healing from trauma is moving from trauma to trust to triumph. And I feel like...
Say it again, that's so
yeah,
great.
you're moving from trauma and the experience of the trauma,
Yeah.
and then to a period of trust, trusting oneself and other people, learning to create proper boundaries,
Yep.
and then moving into a framework of triumph where you're actually creating the life that you want to lead by your own means rather than responding to the trauma.